Hello, Hardcore Finance listeners. I'm here with Alex Mashinsky, notorious Alex, which is CEO of Celsius. Celsius is an amazing product, amazing yield farming, amazing yield products. And I looked to know a little bit about your background, how you got into Celsius, and then dive deep about this whole industry. What is yield farming? How do you offer such amazing rates? Why can't I get 6% APY in the bank and so on?
Yeah, sure. And thanks for being a customer.
Yeah, I'm a customer.
So my journey, Celsius is my 8th startup as a founder, so I've obviously done a lot. One of my first companies was Arbinet. We created voice over IP, which is now obviously used everywhere. So that was taking power from the phone companies and giving it back to all of us so we can talk direct, instead of having to go through AT&T or Verizon or somebody else, and using the internet. And the same thing is happening now. We're taking the power away from the banks, and we can transact directly. And basically the first 10 years of crypto were all about store value, Bitcoin and so on, store value. And I decided I thought there was another killer app, yield. So before DeFi, before all that stuff, Celsius was the first one to start paying yield on Bitcoin, Ethereum. Now we pay on 45 assets. So I know a lot of people are calling it DeFi, but really there is a much bigger movement which is decentralized yield, which comes on all different blockchains, not just on Ethereum.
So I want to go, one of the biggest things about you is no losses, right? Few people can say this, and
yes.
You guys have had no losses. And many of our listeners and people out there in general get into yield farming, they see it 6-8% returns, annual returns, and they think, wow, it's amazing. But it's not really without risk, right? And so there's counterparty risk, there's risk in understanding of who the Celsius or BlockFi, whoever the Gemini who they lend against, essentially.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about how you guys manage that risk, especially during volatile times, time to fly vol.
Yeah, so Celsius now is 350 people. So we have more people in our risk department than most DeFi projects have in total, right? And Celsius audits every project, meaning like right now we only deploy on 6 or 7 different DeFi platforms. Why? Because we audited their smart contract. We know exactly what they're doing. We look at every new version. We don't put any money on the new version before we have it. Most people don't have time for that. They say, oh, it's a Yearn, or it's a this, it's that, must be good. Or it's a fork of Uniswap, or it's a fork of Avis, it must be good. So many projects, for example, where a copy of Uniswap on Binance chain, like PancakeSwap and so on, get hacked, and people assume that just because it's a copy, it's a fork, it must be reliable. So you have to understand the project, but you also have to understand the blockchain. If you don't understand those things, you don't understand risk. So what Celsius does best is really understand what is the risk with counterparties. Sometimes the counterparty is a smart contract, sometimes the counterparty is exchange, sometimes the counterparty is an institution. And we earn yield through many, many ways. We don't just earn it from one place, like DeFi, right? Like DeFi on Ethereum. So we have 5 ways of earning yield. We have over 350 institutions that we work with. So we have a very, very broad base of yield creation. And we are very conservative, meaning if you see a platform that pays 40% yield, it's because it's very risky. Because if we put money there, the yield would be 5%, not 40%, right? Because the more money you put in, the lower the risk. So by not participating, we are basically exposing the people who are too much of a risk.
And it's interesting to me because your rates in the market are, I think, the best I've seen in the market.
With the lowest risk.
With the lowest risk. It's almost like you're having a cake and you get to eat it too. And
so let's compare what Celsius does. We lend to institutions. DeFi does not lend to institutions. We lend to exchanges. DeFi does not lend to exchanges. We lend to retail. We do margin loans. Retail does not do, DeFi does not do loans to people who need to pay their credit card, right? We do mining. We earn yield through mining. DeFi does not do any of those things. So DeFi only does DeFi on Ethereum, right? And if you want to deploy a lot of money, there's only few platforms that can handle it. Compound, Aave, right, Uniswap, and so on. So we are one of the largest, if not the largest player on all of those platforms.
So you scale essentially to mitigate risk.
We are those platforms. If we took our money out, they're all going to show you.
They take your money out.
Yes. But we also a big borrower. So we are a big borrower of DAI. We have a partnership with Maker. Maker just approved Celsius and the Cell token as collateral, for example. So we're not just a deployment partner. We're also a borrower, which is, you want people that are on both sides of it, not just on one side.
Sure, absolutely. And so if I'm more of a kind of family office institution, and I want to put in $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, and let's say I go into Bitcoin, make it simple, take Bitcoin, put it in Celsius, am I assured, what happens if there's a hack? What happens if there's a hack of an app? And I look, as a user, I know you guys go through a lot of very powerful, direct communication and so on and so forth, but what about that trust risk that I think still exists in crypto, where big players really need institutional custodian solutions or institutional grade lending solutions? How do you alleviate that risk?
So what in your view is an institutional custodian? Give me an example.
Well, there are different ones. We'll call Fidelity those institutions.
Right.
But it's more kind of storage and making sure that it's not.
So what technology do they use?
It's same technology as everyone else does. It's all about outsourcing risk, right, to someone else.
What I'm saying, most banks use a technology called MPC, multi-party computation. And many crypto custodians don't even use that technology yet. Like BitGo, for example, is yet to implement that. Right? So you have to really look at technology. You cannot just look at, they have institutions and it must be safe.
Yeah.
Right? So Celsius was the first to use MPC in crypto. Right now, again, banks have been using it for 10 years, but it never got into crypto. And Celsius brought it in. Celsius chose the Fireblocks. We said they have the right technology, and we were the first to implement custody using MPC, multi-party computation. So if you dig into the issues of why Celsius never got hacked, where other people got hacked, it's because we are using the best technology. And we have more people working on security. And again, we have this project having total employees, right? So the investment is in that area, right? In Celsius, we work with 350 institutions. Those institutions have to trust us as well, right? So we have retail on one side, institutions on the other side. That's how we keep it safe.
There's one. I want to change topics a little bit. There's one thing I do want to give you credit for, and as a customer, I appreciate. I think there are very few people in this space, in my eyes, that really have a direct connection with the customers. And you go out of your way, and to his credit, Charles Hoskinson does this as well, talking live. You have live events, and I think always available media for others. Right. Tell me why? Why do you do this?
So look, I don't need this job, right?
I appreciate it, by the way.
So Celsius is my third unicorn. My wife keeps asking the same question, like, why are you doing this? Today we did a live event with 250 people, right? I shook hands with every one of them. They all wanted to take pictures and stuff. So really, this is about building the community. For me, the most important thing is winning against the bank. And how do you win against the banks? You convince people that there's a better alternative. One by one, you get them to not put their money into the traditional banks. Why? Because like we said, banks can pay you a much higher interest. They just choose not to. Banks choose to give the interest to their shareholders. Celsius chooses to take the same yield, same interest, and give it to the depositor. So I think our community, which is an amazing community, can win, but it only wins if we have a direct connection, if we explain to people, and we use the community to scale and basically bring other people into crypto.
Can I throw you a tough one?
Sure.
And by the way, I'm a fan. I use you guys.
Let's see what you.
Yeah. let's see the hard
yeah.
one. So from a strategic perspective, right? I want to follow again on the banks, the bank analogy. From a strategic perspective, you could keep the rates lower, right? So you can match block buys, for example, right?
You mean down? Cut them by
Cut them
2/3 to match
Exactly.
block buys.
Exactly. Cut them down, bring them lower, have more margin, have more profit. You don't. And so in a way, it's almost like a reverse race to the bottom. You know, you're keeping rates high, and you're almost going to, if you're very successful,
We're doing a race to the top. Not a
Exactly,
race to the bottom.
exactly. It's a race to the top, and for the benefit of the consumer. You know, why not take some?
So first, Celsius is profitable,
Yeah.
and we're growing faster. I think we're the fastest growing company in history. Okay, we went
bold statement.
That's a big statement. So today, I think Uber holds that. Uber is holding that record because they were basically they went public. They were worth 60 billion in something like 8 or 9 years, and we will beat that number. So we are 20 billion in deposits, 350 employees. We're getting $1 billion a month. You do the math of what that company is that it's worth. So, and the reason we're doing so well is because we're not taking that profit. Because we are giving so much back to the customer, that our customers are our sales force, they're our customer service. Our token is the best performing token last year, and one of the best performing this year. It was number one last year, out of 10,000 tokens, up 4,000% last year.
I have so many questions for you.
Masari ranked us. This is not my ranking. Masari, which is a very reputable firm, ranked us number one. So I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that the value of the token has to do with how much we're giving the community.
Why tokenize, by the way? Why not go like BlockFi and just, have
So
equity?
our token is like airline miles. You earn more if you use the token. So do you want to earn more? Well, so then you need a token. BlockFi is just, look, BlockFi is really like a Wall Street firm that is pretending to act in your best interest. I mean, you read their website, they're all talking about how they want to become a bank, and they want to do this, and they want to do that. So, I don't think they're bad people, but they're not here to make crypto to replace the financial system. All the shareholders are Wall Street, big banks, big financial investors. They're not here to ruin Wall Street. They're just here to make sure that crypto is under their umbrella. So do you want crypto to be independent, or do you want crypto to be part of Wall Street?
And then, last question, I'd love to know how people can get a hold of you. What's next? What's next for you guys?
So we're adding credit cards, we're adding a lot of different services, so you can use the service worldwide. We also offer loans. We lend money at 1%. Right? You can't get that anywhere else. No one else, after 4 years, still no one is offering that.
Sorry, one thing. We always talk about lending and borrowing against crypto, and actually one of the best ways I've seen in Celsius, we always have a podcast talk about what does it mean to hold and manage wealth. And one thing we talk about is once you accumulate borrowing against your portfolio, keeping it low to fairly low, a lot of the same themes that we look past episodes. So this is amazing that
Right. We make enough money on the coins that we charge very little for the loan.
Yeah.
And that's a secret. People say, wait a second, how are you only charging me 1%? 1% loans are at 25% LTV. So you have to give me $4 worth of Bitcoin for me to give you $1 worth of
which is good from a risk perspective for everyone.
You get what you want, I get what I want. It's a win-win for both sides.
So credit cards next. How can people get a hold of you?
So I'm on Twitter at Mashinsky, my last name, MASA.NSKY. And our website is Celsius.network. And we have a YouTube channel, so come watch our live episode every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just try it out. Download the app, try it, Celsius.
Great app.
You will definitely benefit from it.
Great app.
No fees. 0 fees whatsoever. We've never charged a Celsius a single fee.
Thank you so much for your time. Really
Sure, thanks for having us.